frequently, I encourage you to read the Word of God, but not just to read it, but to read it reflectively. I mean, to find yourself in the Word of God. That's the ideal. The ideal of a prayerful reading and reflecting on the Word of God is that I find myself in the Word. So let me look at a story from the Gospel of Luke. It's in chapter 19, and it's set in a place called Jericho. Jericho is a name we're familiar with, but Jericho is in the West Bank. We read in the news about the West Bank. That's a Palestinian territory, controlled by Israel, but it's Palestinian territory. Jericho is the lowest city in the world, 800 feet below sea level. Very close to there, on the north edge of the Dead Sea, is the lowest place in the world beneath sea level. So Jericho's there. Jesus is passing through Jericho in this story. And there's a large crowd traveling with him, listening to him, preaching. Then there's this fellow, Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus is not popular. I mean, he's reviled in the community. He's a tax collector. He's a greedy tax collector. And he's collecting taxes from his own people for the occupying Roman forces. So he's despised. It says he's small in stature, and so he can't see Jesus coming because of the crowd. So he climbs a sycamore tree, and actually in the center of Jericho today, there is a sycamore tree. It's not the one in the Gospels, but it gives you a little idea how easy it is to climb a sycamore tree. Zacchaeus climbs up the tree, and he sees Jesus coming. Jesus stops and he looks up at him and he says, "Zacchaeus, come down from this tree, because I mean to have dinner in your house tonight." Well, Zacchaeus is very, very delighted. And the people are very critical of Jesus. I mean, he's going to the house of a public sinner, a man who is despised, a man who doesn't belong to the goodness of the people. But Jesus goes to his house. Now, that's the first teaching. Jesus goes to the house of the sinner to break bread. Now, in a Semitic culture, to break bread and to have a meal is an extraordinary sense of connection, of belonging, in a way of respect. Interesting. And so Zacchaeus welcomes him, and he is so honored and so delighted, having listened to Jesus. Here's what he says. It's chapter 19 here. Let me get you chapter 19. So, responding to Jesus, he says, he stood his ground and he said to the Lord, "I gave half my belongings to the poor, and if I have defrauded anyone in the least, I will pay back fourfold." And Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this house, for this is what it means to be a son of Abraham. And the Son of Man has come to search out and to save those who were lost." Well, here's the teaching. Here's where I found myself in the Word. I want you to think about yourself in the Word of God. See, Zacchaeus was a selfish, mean, self-centered, egotistical guy that nobody liked. He had a small heart. That's the idea of when Luke tells us he was short of stature. It's not just he's physically short, but his heart is small. He has a small heart. And then Jesus goes into his home, breaks bread with him, and he becomes a large heart. Have you ever had a time in your life where your heart was small? And you knew it, by the way. You were picky, you were demanding. It was payback time. You found a struggle to forgive somebody. You were lacking in understanding or patience. You had a small heart. And then you come to read the Word of God and to pray the Word of God and to find yourself in the Word of God. And you find Jesus Christ in your life. And moving from a small heart, your heart becomes great. You belong to the poor now. You understand those who are left out. You withhold judgments about people now. Perhaps somebody in your family who is less than ideal or has offended you, you change. Your heart becomes great. And when you look out into the world, you say, how do I live out having a great heart? How do I respect others? How do I understand an undocumented person? How do I understand people who feel left out of the church? People who are struggling in life. When you meet Jesus Christ, when the Lord comes into your home and breaks bread with you, in the power of Jesus Christ, your heart will become great.